Hello everybody and welcome back to Full House Sports here, myself Charlie. Before the video starts, please like, please comment, please subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated. Right, there has been some more developments on the R360 front, and I was wondering, I guess, to be fair today, and with the recent news that's been breaking and the who might be playing, who might not be playing, what does the future hold and how might this affect both the NRL and Rugby Union? Now, I myself, as you can tell with anyone who watches the channel, I'm a fan of both codes of rugby, and I'm not into this league versus union debate. I'm not a fan of it. I like both codes. I find both codes entertaining in their own right, and that, for me, is where that debate ends. I know there's people who will indulge in that debate, who enjoy it. Certainly in England, there's people who do. There's probably people down under who do as well, and in New Zealand and other places. But for me, like I say, it's not a debate that I want to get into. So I'm going to park that there, and this video isn't about that. This video isn't about what's better, what's going to be more lucrative, etc. But this video is just going to basically talk about what could this mean for the NRL and union and league in general. Because we've obviously seen in recent weeks and days now that it looks like the idea that players like Payne Haas, Ryan Papenhuisen and Zach Lomax are going to be joining R360. Now, how that's going to look, we don't know. There's talk that Payne Haas is going to be offered 3 million Aussie dollars, I think, a season for R360, which is going to make him, well, was going to do some incredible numbers in comparison to his NRL salary. Papenhuisen obviously was released by Melbourne Storm at the end of this season. There was talk that that was always due to the fact that he wanted to go play, or he'd been offered quite a lucrative deal by R360. And there's also the Zach Lomax deal as well, where we know he's had issues at club level, and he also looks to be maybe getting released, or has been released by his club. I mean, first things first, I think it's an interesting move by R360, because for me, I don't think, as a union fan, I'm that interested in watching a load of rugby league guys play union. And I think, to be honest with you, it's quite a bold marketing strategy from R360, and one that I find quite bizarre. Now, we saw a blanket ban come out from Rugby Union in recent weeks from a lot of the player unions saying if you play with R360, you won't play for your international teams, which has effectively ruled out a lot of the top players who play in international Rugby Union. So obviously R360, I guess, have had to think outside the box and look and go, right, where else are we going to go? Who are we going to go for? To go to the NRL seems like a bit of a bizarre move, because I'll say a lot of these guys, or some of these guys, won't be known to union fans unless you're a lover of both codes. But I think there's not that many people, certainly in England, who are. And essentially as well, it's going to potentially lessen the quality, because we know that Papenhuisen and Lomax are allegedly, although this seems to have been rubbish now, is that they apparently might be going to America Major League Rugby, which I did a video on the other week, to learn the game before then coming to R360. Secondly, I think it'll be interesting to see what the NRL does about this, because this is a legitimate threat, you know, and there is a slight irony about it, because this is the same NRL that have been more than happy to poach or try and poach players from union in Australia due to the high wages they can offer. Well, now the shoe is on the other foot. And it'll be interesting to see what Peter V'landys and the powers that be in the NRL do about this. You know, I saw someone talking today, Payne Haas. The Brisbane Broncos are owned by News Corp in Australia. They're not going to take this lightly. They are losing one of the best props in a generation. They're losing him in potentially his peak years because they can't match him financially. They can't match what he's being offered by another competition, by another code of rugby. That they are not going to take lying down easy. They're going to be furious about that, especially if it affects the franchise, if it affects the club heavily. And I could see that being a potential knock-on effect. Is the NRL going to look and go, maybe we need to engage our wage cap? We need to look at giving it a bit of a revamp, because it's a legitimate threat. Whether people like it or not, and we don't know what's going to happen with R360. There's a lot of rumours about who's investing it, why they're investing it, and a lot of people saying as well that their investment, or their investors are a bit phonies to an extent. I mean, listen, I don't know how true it is. We know Mike Tyndall and Stuart Hooper are behind it. But we know 885 Capital as well. Is there talk that 885 Capital are even got the links? They say they've got the links. I don't know. That's a discussion for probably a Business of Sport podcast, not me on a YouTube video in my bedroom. But I think it's peculiar, and I think it's an interesting one, because, you know, NRL can, and I love the NRL. I love watching it. And I love watching Rugby Union. And I've got to be honest, as a Rugby Union fan, I'm not that interested in R360. I'm not. I don't think anyone is, because it has no history to it. It has no meaning to it. But if they start getting these guys to come and play, then is that a message that the NRL loses face, essentially, doesn't it? The NRL then looks and goes, we can't match them. It's an interesting story in developing, because the NRL are going to have to look at how to keep hold of these players. I mean, I don't think R360 will last for long, so I think it will just be a temporary storm. It will also be interesting to see if Peter V'landys and others put down a marker and say, yeah, we are going to ban you, because we know they've said to players who have talked about R360, we're going to give you a 10-year ban. They've talked that Ryan Papenhuisen was potentially looking at getting around that. That was why he released his contract, because he could say, well, I'm not leaving an NRL club to go and play in it. I'm a man without a club. But V'landys seems to say that, no, this is going to be a blanket ban, full stop. It's interesting. It's an interesting development in it all. And it seems, I think the Payne Haas one is crazy, because he is the best prop in the world. To be losing him to Union is big. And the NRL have had a couple of high-profile defections. You know, Marky Mark has said that he's going to look at going back Union, potentially for a Rugby World Cup. I get that. I can see him then going back to league. We know Falau sort of flipped and flopped. It's always been the way, I think, with Australia. It has been in recent years being the thing. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens now and what the NRL does, because if these blanket bans work, but if they can't deter people and they have a mass exodus, then not saying they're going to be in trouble, but it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with it, especially with their huge expansion plans that they have. To now have someone who's going to be a potential threat, it'll be interesting to see how they respond. As always, guys, please let us know what you think. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated. As always, have a good day.